So I'm talking about Venus exalted today. When Venus is exalted, it's of course exalted in the sign of Pisces. And Venus is the planet of our desires and our desire for happiness, to enjoy life, to experience beauty. It's actually what we're all looking for. When we think about life, we're all wanting as much Venus as we can get. You wake up every morning and say, how much Venus can I get today? How much good food and nice people and beautiful surroundings, and I want to live a happy life. And it's great. That's what we're here to do. We're supposed to enjoy life, enjoying people, sharing the things we love, and pleasure through the physical body and in the heart and in our higher mind and consciousness. This is all the domain of Venus. So Venus is exalted in Pisces because Pisces is a sign of something that's actually not of this earth. If you think about it, it's pretty crazy. In many ways, Venus is the most down-to-earth planet there is because it connects us with our senses, our sense of pleasure, enjoyment. Again, it's so much about what we're all trying to do. It's very easy to say that Saturn is down to earth. Saturn makes us aware of the limitations of life on Earth. Makes us aware. It's the heaviness. And Mercury's also quite practical. It's like the language and how we apply things. But as far as, we can be off in our heads somewhere with Mercury, and Saturn is very much about time and larger things. But each moment to moment, the kind of what we're trying to get each moment is some version of the Venus thing. What we like, what's beautiful, what we're going to enjoy. For instance, we don't think to ourselves, what's the best meal that I could eat, right? What's the proper portion, the healthiest, the best meal I could possibly eat right now? That would be kind of Saturn, actually, very practical, or Mercury, the most intelligent way that I could eat a meal right now. No, we think, what do I feel like tasting? Let's be honest. What tastes good? And God knows if it's healthy as well, fantastic, all the better. But we usually have to evolve toward that. And then as you get older, it's like, what's the healthiest thing I can eat? And then let me find a way to make it tasty. So your priorities shift as you get older. But just the ratio of our priorities, like when we're looking to, let's say, be involved with people. The first thing we don't think is, what is the best person for me? Like the person who's going to help me, spiritually evolve. As much as we all like to think, oh, I'm spiritual and I'm interested in growth and I'm interested in that. No, you're not. You're interested in being happy. Face it, okay? When we say, I want to, I'm looking for a partner. The first thing we're looking at is, who's hot? Face it, it's true. Even if it's not the hottest, that has to be there. There has to be some kind of sexual connection. And let's face it, once we find someone who we're really turned on by and all, it's very compelling, right? Otherwise, we would all be with people that are good for us, but we're not. We wind up with the person that we're really attracted to that gets us all right? A lot of that Venus stuff, right? Because we want that excitement and that happiness that comes from physical stimulation and beauty, and then emotional, then we try to connect it with the emotional stimulation and beauty, and then ultimately with something elevated. So Venus is exalted in Pisces, which is really kind of not of this earth. It's not all about that practical stuff that we're so hooked into. In fact, in many ways, it's debilitated in Virgo, which is a sign of all of these details. Now, underneath it all, what we're really trying to evolve with Venus is this concept of happiness. And what makes us happy? So Venus rules two signs. It rules Taurus and Libra. Taurus is very much about that sensual quality of Venus, and Libra is very much about that intellectual, social part of Venus, where we want to be happy with other people. Taurus is where we want to be happy with the stuff we have right now in the moment. That's why I say Venus is very practical. Taurus is maybe the most practical sign there is. And it's practically like the food we're eating and the stuff around us, the things we have, our our possessions and things like that. Venus is very practical in that regard, and how we interact with other people. So, where we find happiness is what Venus is about. So, happiness with the things we have, and happiness with the people, and how we interact with them, needs to be elevated. And Venus is debilitated in Virgo because Virgo is a place of criticism. It's naturally a place of criticism, not just details, but being critical with details and trying to destroy the details that are dangerous and wrong and that are not going to get us what we want. That's what Virgo is. It's a tamasic sign. It's about details, but it's also about destroying details. Destroying tamasic details, Mercury. By contrast, Gemini is also about details, but it's about enjoying rajasic details, Mercury. So we have enjoying details, Gemini, destroying details, Virgo. And so Venus is debilitated in Virgo because it's where we're trying to destroy the things that are making us weak. At least, I should say identify. It's not really destroying them, it's identifying them. Identifying the dangerous details. And when Venus is there, basically we become very critical about the things that we find beautiful, or the people we find beautiful, or the stuff that we are trying to enjoy. And we find all of these reasons not to be happy. I kind of make the joke, you know, Venus is the indicator of other people. It's the karaka of relationships, of how we deal with other people, not just romantically, but others in general, how we perceive others. Are we tolerant with others? You know, again, you can see someone's romantic relationships as a sort of culmination or as a sort of microcosm of their relationship with all other people on some level. Of course, we wind up treating relationship partners differently, obviously. But you can definitely see a strong correlation between how we deal with all people and how we deal with the romantic partner. And, you know, Venus in Virgo, for example, is a placement where you find all of these reasons why you're not happy. I make the joke, spreadsheets of reasons, like Excel spreadsheet of grievances. You know, get it all organized. Here's why and I make this joke because I didn't actually date the person, but I had someone who was a client, and she actually sent me an Excel spreadsheet of her grievances with a partner she had. It was like issue, you know, it's like, you know, doesn't take out the trash, you know, remedy, blah blah blah, you know what I've done to try to, you know, fix him, blah 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 blah, and like this, you know, 25, you know, things in it, literally in an Excel spreadsheet. Debilitated Venus, right? Where I can find every reason in the world to not be happy and then criticize others for it. This is why it can be very dark, because then we're not sharing. Venus is the stuff that we're trying to share, and it's painful for the person to do that. The Venus part of them is hurt when that happens. By contrast, Venus is exalted in Pisces, because Pisces is where we're happy for any reason, all reasons. Anything makes me happy. Happy for all reasons. Right? I don't have any conditions. The universe itself is beautiful, and just being alive makes me happy. Now, that sounds very elevated, and people could say, oh yeah, my Venus is like that, and why am I always so unhappy? Right? I get it. That's true. Also, one of the things to understand is when planets are developed like that, when they're exalted, for example, they're very awake. They're what's called Jagrad, or awake. And their energy is really prominent. They wind up being very dominant in our mind. And when you have this very awake Venus, it actually really wants that. Because anything can make me happy, then of course that includes food, sex, people, music, nature. I just want happy, happy, happy. But of course Venus is only one planet. We're not just here to be happy. We put a lot of importance on it. Like I said at the beginning, and that's why I say it like this, much of what we do in life is say, okay, I'm awake. Okay, now I'm awake. Where's all my Venus stuff? Where's all the Venus? Come on, give it to me. Give me the good, give me the happiness, give me the pleasure, give me the nice people, give me the nice food, the nice sex, the comfort, the beauty, the pleasure. That's all I want. Give me it. And that's only 1/7 of life, because there's also other energies, like Mars energy, like I need to be disciplined. Saturn, I need to be serious. I need to work hard. Mercury, I need to communicate and I need to be flexible. And Sun, I need to have purpose. Moon, I need to give selflessly. And everything isn't just about enjoying life. We put a lot of importance on it, and when Venus is really powerful, like Exalted, and a lot of energy is put into that thing. We spend a lot of time pursuing it because when we get it, it feels so good. And it's very easy to enjoy Venus areas. If you're unhappy right now, one of the things that you can do, all you need to do, it's a very simple thing. You could eat a piece of chocolate. And for that amount of time, oh, I'm happy now. Of course, then the chocolate is gone and you might want to eat, okay, well now that one's gone, I need to eat some more. I need to do something else now to be happy. But this is why things like food, in particular, can be abused very easily with a very powerful Venus, because it's easy to satisfy a powerful Venus, or even a weak Venus, any Venus, with something like food. Of course, sex is another one, but because that gets more complicated and painful as we get older, you'll often see someone who has, let's say, especially Exalted Venus, can be very sexual, too sexual, and then hopefully they learn to be more, to have more, chastity, particularly for women. That part. Men, you can see they can be very promiscuous. Because that sex feels so good. And again, this is the thing to understand. It doesn't just feel so good. When Venus is developed, we enjoy it. And the reason it's so compelling is because the senses feel good. And Venus is the planet that shows that the senses feel good, and we love it. We love the way the senses feel. And when Venus is very prominent and exalted, something like a piece of chocolate or sex connects us to the source of existence, because it's Pisces. It's like, oh, I just totally lose myself in it, totally. When it's exalted, for example. And also when it's in Libra or Taurus, it can have the same quality because it's very developed. Again, depending on the houses. But certainly when it's exalted, again, Pisces is things like not of this earth. And any planet in Pisces has this quality of cosmic ecstasy related to it. Where we're just in ecstasy. That's what Pisces is. It's like not even of this earth. And so with Venus in Pisces, it's like our senses and our sensual enjoyment is like transported to some cosmic dimension. You can see how that could be dangerous, right? Because we're very immature with the senses. So it's exalted there because the potential for cosmic order and unity and beauty is there. And it's very easy. This is what you want to understand about dignity. It's a potential as much as anything. People say, well, how come this exalted Venus created all this pain? Well, that's why, because we're immature with that. And we usually have to go through the pain to get to the glory. But some things, it's very hard to even get the glory. Like when planets are in lower dignity, that glorious potential is very curtailed. Like with the debilitated Venus, being launched into some ecstatic place is almost not there at all. Because of that sort of bean counting, it's like a hypercritical nature, where what can happen usually when it's debilitated is a person they don't even enjoy their pleasure. It's hard for them to enjoy life, literally. It's hard for them to take pleasure in things. Again, it's just one thing. It's not everything. The dignity is not everything. Because again, that Venus, and in fact, of all the planets to have in low dignity, Venus is probably the best one. Because many times Venus in Virgo, for instance, forms Raja Yogas, and there's a lot of things about it that's very good. One of the things I just mentioned, because the person doesn't have this like phantasmagorical approach to like sex or a piece of chocolate or some other kind of thing. Because we tend to not have maturity with Venus areas. So when I see Venus debilitated in the chart, it's probably the one I'm least concerned with. But it still would wind up showing in the person, and particularly in their relationships. They'll have a hard time not criticizing people too much and curtailing their capacity to enjoy themselves and others as a result. And with Venus, again, when Venus is exalted, it can be too much. The person gives too much. The person is kind of like a doormat, like they don't have any filter. And this is also very important. Exact degrees are really important when you get to exaltation, in particular with, well, actually with all the planets, but Venus is exalted at like 27, 28 degrees of Pisces. When you get Venus at a very early degree of Pisces, like 5, 6, first couple nakshatras, before like 10, and it's not even really close to Revati, which starts at 16, you get Venus in Pisces at like 2, 3 degrees, even up to like 5, 6, 10 degrees. It's in the sign of exaltation, but you really see a lot of these qualities that I'm talking about. You really, really, really see a lot of the desires out of control quality of Venus. When Venus gets up around 27, 28, 29, I mean, it's exalted at like the last degrees of Pisces. It's exalted at like the last section of the zodiac. And again, ponder this. Ponder this. This is like the very last degree of life itself, because that's what the zodiac is. At the very highest degree, our desires merge with the cosmic will, with the cosmic desire. And when planets get to those last degrees, what happens is their karmas with the world are like finished. This isn't all examples, by the way. Planets at very late degree, like a planet that's in Atmakarika, the karma with the world becomes much less important, especially 28, 29 degrees when it's about to change signs. It gets very used up and spent, like it's almost finished, like its karma with the world is finished. And with Venus at that very high degree of exaltation, its karma with the world is finished, and those desires become elevated and sublimated into something much deeper. So ponder that.